Yes, people, welcome back to another episode and a live episode of That Gonna Talk. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going live. We're going to try to do this more and more often for you guys, trying to get this interactive community. But there's a lot to talk about because it's a big day. A lot of injury news coming out in regards to a preview of Arsenal taking on Brighton at home. But anyone coming into the chat, don't forget to drop a like, drop a comment down below. We're going to be going for a little bit here. Leave your comments, leave your questions in down below. And to start off with, KP, tell me how you're feeling, my bro. Big one coming up tomorrow in the Carabao Cup. We haven't won a competition in a while. How you feeling?
I'm good, bro. Winning streak continues. You know how it is. Arsenal got us confident. Obviously, Carabao Cup it's one I personally really want to win.
Yes.
We haven't won in my lifespan of Arsenal supporting Arsenal, and obviously, I feel like, given the fact we went to the semi-finals last year, but crashed out quite, poorly, I feel like I need us to rectify it this year. And because our squad's stronger, I feel like I'm confident that we can do that. How about you, bro? How are you feeling for this game coming up tomorrow?
Yeah, it's one I look forward to again. Because let me start off and say this. Like you talked about it, bro. We crashed out to Newcastle in the semi-final, and I genuinely thought we had a chance to lift the cup last year, but it showed one of its ugly heads about last season. We did not do what we needed to do in the transfer window, especially when we saw Bukayo Saka getting injured. And right in that game, I think it was either the second leg, I think it was when Martinelli got injured and Havertz in the same game, was it, at St. James's Park? So it was a gutting one to take. I almost kind of erased the whole semi-final tie from my mind. But we did have good moments coming up to the game. We did have good moments leading up to the semi-final. I remember the Palace tie was really, really good. I think Bolton also was really, really good. So we've had some moments in the Carabao Cup last season. So I'd like to go one further, go to Wembley, and lift some silverware before the bigger ones, man. But like I said, KP, going into this game, it's a massive one for certain players, especially for players on outlook going into this game. Mikel Arteta had some injury news. First of all, one being a major miss for Gabriel Martinelli. Martinelli has been in real good form, been scoring some goals lately, and he's your guy. I don't want to touch too much on the lineup yet and get into that, but I think that was one of the key standouts for me because I didn't even see when he got injured. How are you feeling ultimately about some of the injury news that you heard coming out today from the manager?
Obviously, on Sunday, there's a lot of players that came off the back of some injury news, and Saliba and Martinelli being out is obviously worrying. I think Mikel was saying Martinelli has to do a few scans for them to know the extent of the injury, which, as you said, like I didn't really see him come off or do anything during the game, which means it could have been a muscle pull or something. Maybe he felt as soon as the game ended. It will be sad if it's like a longer term injury because obviously Martinelli's been quality from us off the bench and in rotation games as well, and he started to look a bit more like himself. So obviously having something that's going to stop that is always going to be hard. And end of the day, our attacking lineup or attacking depth is the one that's suffering injuries the most, with Madueke, Jesus, Havertz. If you now add Martinelli to that list, then you only have three, first team options to play there. Yeah, you have Ethan, and obviously you got Max.
Even add Odegaard because that kind of affects our attacking front line in the sense of who we play in the 10 or up front.
And Odegaard as well, as you just said. Sorry, I forgot about him. And this it's not ideal. And obviously, this is the type of game that you would have hoped Martinelli would have got starting, would have been able to kind of continue his goal scoring run. But since he isn't going to play, I'm just hoping it's not a long term injury. So we haven't heard any news about how long it could be, but it's just frustrating. Same thing with Saliba, to be honest. But I think Mikel said that he's just that they're going to see how he is. But that's another questionable thing as well.
Yeah, and I feel for not only Saliba but also Martinelli, because we just talked about this, how Martinelli's been looking to come back into form. It was a big ask on him when Eze came in. A lot of people questioned to see, well, is Martinelli going to stay? A lot of people were calling for him to be sold in the summer window. So he's had a period for Arsenal over the last month where he stepped up, scoring big goals for this club, especially when Noni Madueke went down with the injury in the City game. He stepped up and was the winner in the City game and kicked on from there, ironically. But it hurts me, man, because you talked about it and we've talked about it for so many times. I genuinely enjoy Martinelli, and I think when used properly, he carries a lot of threat in his team. And I think that's something that we would love to have, especially in European games coming up, especially going into this winter period where games are going to be coming thick and fast, international breaks as well. Our attacking lineup has suffered a lot, man. And I want to ask you, KP, does that concern you so much, such the injuries we've been conceding so far this season? Because yes, we've been dominant and good in other forms of the football, but if you don't have the guys, if guys are getting hurt, then ultimately, what can you do? Are the injuries concerning you with the undertone? How do you feel?
Obviously, it's a concern, especially if Martinelli's more long term, because then you're only down to 3 natural attackers or senior attackers, and we're kind of not in the same situation as last year. Obviously, we know Madueke, Havertz are on their way back. Same with Odegaard, same with Jesus, but still they won't be available. And we've still got another 2 Premier League games before the next international break. We've still got Slavia Prague in the Champions League next week that I think that we should be winning, and we need to win. So it's not ideal. Ideally, and you can see obviously Saka came off the back of an illness this week when he could play about 60 minutes. Obviously on Sunday, Gokres has been playing every game, 90 minutes most games. So I imagine he's tired, and obviously Trossard, like, he's on the older side. So obviously, yes, he did get to rest last week against Atletico, so I guess he's not overplaying. But if Martinelli's out, he is going to have to play a lot of minutes, like, which is not ideal again for him, and we won't have the options to rotate to change a game in terms of the profiles, I guess. So it's not ideal, and it is concerning. Obviously, the main thing is I'm just hoping it's not long-term injuries, because that, in the end of the day, will be okay and more manageable, because you've got international break, which takes over 2 weeks as well. So it kind of gives time for these guys to recover, but still, I don't know, man. Are you concerned?
I mean, in a sense, yes. In a sense, yeah, because even picking this lineup now, you kind of ask yourself some questions about, Trossard played 90 minutes? Are we forced to play Trossard again? Are we forced to now play Gyökeres 90 minutes every single game now that he's our only fit and available striker? What about Saka, who came back from an illness? Do you play Saka? People will question, you talked about it, Gabriel Magalhaes before the Palace game, talks about him being fit going into that game were big concern. He was a big concern going into that game, ended up playing full 90, was a boss at the back. But that doesn't mean that something underlying can also be going on there. Is he playing through an injury? But we're going into months where, but just be honest, it's gonna get cold outside, and you could take that into a factor or what. It's gonna get cold. The games are gonna get physical, and all it takes is a muscle injury to ruin a player. It can happen. As much as we call it on the basics, or you're talking about the weather, that it is true. It's true. It can happen. It can happen. So am I concerned in terms of the personnel we have to back them up? Not really, because I know when guys come back, I know the guys are of the standard and of the quality, but I don't want us to then drop points or drop meaningful games just because we've lost so many guys due to injury. And we saw last season playing with the bare bones, even though, yes, these guys are quality, it just hurts you and limits you, especially in an attacking sense. We've been solid defensively, but last season we were solid defensively. We kept so many draws, and that hurt us in the title run and also in competition. So it does give me a little bit of a concern. I won't lie to you, especially when you might have to rely on Dolman. How many minutes would he play in a season, especially at 15, 16 years old? We have to wait and see. But yeah, man, I'm ultimately concerned about the availability of guys, especially once the season continues to get longer. The games get more important. The intensity, and every single game being a cup final, it's going to feel like that. So yeah, there's definitely a little bit of concern, but not too much on certain players. But on a positive note, in terms of injury news, we did see some players come back at the weekend. We saw Nkapia come back. Ben White now is back in the squad. Now fully, he's been consistently on the bench, needed to get some minutes in his legs. We've seen other guys getting minutes and coming in. KP, what positives do you ultimately take from the Palace game, and are you looking to see in this Brighton game before we go into the lineup?
Positives from the Palace game, obviously Eze getting his goal against his old team, getting his first Premier League goal, and the man of that goal, quality finish as well. It's good. I think obviously another clean sheet, 3 points when obviously our title rivals have been, slipping up in the most recent weeks, obviously, and in general, like as you said, given minutes in KAPE, who I think looked quite, good, aggressive as well. And I
Yeah.
liked the way he defends and composes on the ball. And obviously the likes of Lewis Kelly as well. And it will be interesting to see how much rotation or how many of these players do feature. Shout out to Loudmouth Football. He says, "Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Liverpool fans stating an end of era after 5 losses."
I mean, was it even an error? Technically on the slot. I mean, a season is not really an error. Technically, not a slight at Liverpool fans, but is it really an error if it's only one season? But I mean, hey man,
I
5
think
losses in a row is stinky.
I
I
think
can't like,
Liverpool fans need to be a bit That's obviously they need to just be able to firm this period because it will get better. Obviously,
yeah,
you gotta hope it gets better soon. But at the end of the day, like your quality team, quality players that still need to bed in. Your manager has won the Prem. He is an experienced coach, so he should be able to find a way to pull you guys out of this rut. You just gotta hope that you can do that in the next couple of games because I know your games are difficult and hey, Arsenal can kind of continue to build a gap. Yudi says also you handle Brighton, Calafiori, Timber have been +2 over last season. Yeah, they've definitely stepped up their level beyond last season. It's so funny. I remember that one time. I mean, you made. I think it was like before we played Leicester at home last season.
but why we should play a right footed right back and a left footed
Why
left
we
back?
should be playing Calafiori and Timber fullback because obviously we're just saying obviously like the way that they invert, the way that they can attack, and obviously that was still before they even like developed their role. So, it's crazy still.
Yeah, but it's true though because we saw. I mean, even during that season, we had Timber early on playing left back, and you could just see even though he's a naturally strong defender, attacking going forward ways it just didn't flow right down the left hand side. Him always having to come back in on his right foot. It just killed most of our attacks. And you see, with Calafiori being a more marauding left back, how he gets forward and could put an early ball in on his left foot, or even with Lewis Kelly, that ability to go inside on the low, Trossard or Martinelli to run in behind or play wide and carry the ball from the middle. That's also ability Lewis Kelly have. And Timber also has that ability, but he's better with his right foot playing on the right side of center, right as a right back. So yeah, it was something that we realized, and once we looked at and we did the stats, you could definitely see that there was definitely something there.
You can
But
definitely see
Yuli
it,
also
man.
says, I think more than the quality, they lack the work ethic. Technical quality doesn't account for the hard work you do expending lungs. I don't know if he means Arsenal or Brighton.
No, I think it means Liverpool.
Oh, Liverpool. I mean, yeah, I say there's a lack of work ethic in the sense.
But if he does mean Brighton, then I think actually I think he does mean Brighton. Actually, I think he is right though. I don't see them as like the most hardworking team, even though their technical quality and their build-up play is amazing.
Yeah,
Like, you could see that against Man United in that game where they were able to dominate them physically. Oh, he did say Liverpool.
he did say Liverpool. From a Liverpool perspective, I think it's so layered with their issues. If we could just touch on Liverpool just for the sake of it, I think with a lot of Liverpool's has to do with not only where is it head at. I think mentally it's a lot to do with how they've been playing. Like for example, Virgil van Dijk and Kirkes. Every time Virgil van Dijk looks at Kirkes, you can see the reek. He doesn't even want to play next to this guy. And Kirkes feels the pressure playing next to Virgil van Dijk. That's a big player to play next to. Coming into a side like that, and you haven't won over his confidence. Look at Lewis Kelly and Gabriel. What did Gabriel say about Lewis Kelly? When he plays, I feel safe. For an 18-year-old, 19-year-old player to come into not only the best defense in the Premier League and have that confidence of the captain of the defense, that's only going to breed more confidence in the defense. And Virgil and Kirkes hasn't won that from Virgil. And that's why you see so many defensive lapses. When you see Konate is not at the races, Virgil's not at his best. And then you still have problems with Frimpong, who's been in out the side with injury. And then Bradley, who's not been having the best of seasons. I think that's bound to happen. Just need a bit more leadership. And those guys have to really either get used to playing with each other or get used to even being around each other from the outside looking in, if I could give my 2 cents.
No, I agree. But being the ops, I hope they don't get anything right anytime soon.
Hope they don't get nothing right.
Continue to lose, continue to see the head loss in their fan base, and Arsenal can be obviously the opposite of that as well. Obviously, speaking about obviously Brighton and this Carabao Cup, obviously,
yeah, of course.
it is a trophy that I want us to win. Like I'm not saying you can never expect to win anything because obviously you got to try and compete, get to the semi-finals, finals, and you obviously get the opportunity to win. But given the fact that like there's been a couple of years under Arteta's reign that we've gone to the semi-finals, Liverpool a few years ago, we lost obviously
Yeah, I
Newcastle
remember that.
last year. We lost obviously over two legs disappointingly, and obviously previous years we've been knocked out in the rounds like this by teams like Brighton. Obviously, funny enough,
By
Brighton knocked
Brighton
us out a couple of,
2022.
couple of years ago. Yeah, so I think we need to make sure that we win because I feel like it will also be big, given the fact of when the Carabao Cup final is played and when you can win this trophy. If we're going for the Premier League, if we're fighting in the Champions League to win the trophy, this team within the season get that feeling, get that that little celebration, that moment of the fans before the season's even over. It will give them even a bit more inspiration to want to go up and say, "Do you know what, we've won this trophy, we've won it as a collective. Now let's go win some majors and have this feeling, multiplied by how many that would be." So it's something I want us to do, which is why I feel like we need to take all of these games seriously. And obviously, most of the teams left in this competition are going to be Premier League teams, so we need to obviously play a squad that's good enough to reflect how we can get the result. Which I feel like our whole squad is good enough, but obviously, given the injuries and given obviously certain people not getting certain minutes, it'll be interesting to see what Mikel goes with. But the importance is just getting over this leg, getting into quarterfinals, I believe it is, in my opinion.
Yeah. Nah, yeah, I agree with you because last season I thought it would have been a good opportunity to lift some silverware before even getting to that difficult back end part of the season. I think one thing you could take from that is that I like that you mentioned being competitive, especially in all competitions, because we saw City and Liverpool, teams that were really dominant in the Premier League over the last decade. They were the ones that were consistently looking to challenge in that cup. And when City went on to win it so many times, they also had the success in the league that propelled them to not only have runs in the Champions League, but also have runs in the league. But I'll say this, we've also seen it flip the other way when Liverpool have won that cup and then their season has ultimately derailed because they put in so much intensity, they put in so much hard yards, and then they lost the Champions League final or they ended up losing out on the Premier League by a few points because they slipped up coming onto the back end of the season. So I, for one, want to challenge on all fronts because that's what big clubs do. That's what big clubs should be doing, and I think we have the squad to do it. But going back to the same injury thing we talked about in the last segment, if our squad doesn't really hold up to the weight and the water it's supposed to, I can see this coming back as like I can see it starting to become a competition where you're starting to weigh your eggs and saying, is it worth playing Saka in the quarterfinals or the semifinals of this cup when we need him for X round of the Champions League, or need him for X game in the Premier League? I don't know how the games fall around that time. I don't have it to the top of my head, but that can be something serious. But of course, you want to compete on all fronts and win trophies, absolutely. But going into that, you want to ready to get into the lineup then, bro?
Yeah, we can get into lineups. I'll read the last few comments that come in. Obviously, Yudi said Mendy's positioning is like Jesus talking to him. Which I think him meaning that like he knows where to go because he feels like he's been guided by the Lord, obviously, to do everything he wants. He says also Rice looks happy next to him. The responsibility has been decentralized. I agree with you, bro. I think obviously Rice last season obviously had to do a lot, especially where you had an Adrian, Partey, and Jorginho. So I feel like now having Zubimendi, who I think, as I said, he looks very, very good off the ball in terms of his ability to snap at tackles, his ability to snap at ankles, and also get in there, and then obviously his ability to dictate play. And I think it's allowing Rice have a freer role to kind of drop deeper, go higher, affect the game in different ways. So it's interesting. Yudi says the league's not done yet, but if we win the AFL Cup from here and get a top 4 spot, I'll be content. Wait. The league's not done yet, but if we win the AFL Cup from here and get a top 4 spot, you'll be content. Premier League champions spending 450 million will be content with a top 4 challenge, securing 4th maybe, and winning the AFL Cup. I don't want to believe it. I just don't want to believe it, and I don't think we can accept that being the truth. Because no.
No.
I'm not saying you're not. I'm not saying you're not reasonable.
I'm not letting you do this. Not let me get with this. Look, listen. When there's Arsenal fans that always take the slander, that always, bro, Arsenal, respectfully, we haven't won a league title in years. That our ambition to win a league title. I'm not hearing this, bro. If wins the league and we come out and say as fans, oh, we're content, we're not winning the league, we'll take top 4 and a Carabao Cup. You know how they would slander Arsenal and Arsenal fans. You know how they would slander us. I'm not letting that ride, bro. Especially for a club the size of Liverpool. I'm not letting that rock. When these clubs want to say they're bigger than Arsenal or they're over Arsenal or this or that. No, I'm not hearing that. Don't come in here and then show chest last season as Liverpool fans in general, not just you, Udi. But in general, no, I'm not having this. I'm not having this because I think it should be weighed fairly amongst the big clubs, especially for a Premier League top level club, especially for us. Bro, Liverpool are one of the biggest clubs in the world, man. Don't tell me you're just content with a top 4 spot and the EFL Cup. I get the season is not going well, but come on, man. It's too early in the season to get that. I already hear, man. I'm not hearing this.
You know about this, so
you already know. You already know what that one's, Judy.
But shout out to Lachey. He said, "My brother." Shout out to my boy. Appreciate you for tuning into the stream.
They got Lachey already.
Yudi says, "Brother, have a rebuttal. Arsenal spent the most over the past many seasons, barring Chelsea. High time,
bro.
Hey, bro. Well, I already know what I want. I want the league. I also want Champions League, and I want Carabao Cup. I've said all of these things here. Like, I'm not just gonna settle for a top 4 challenge and maybe an EFL trophy this year. At the end of the day, context matters. I'm not gonna deny that, but can't say that right now. This season's still very early. But he said we won. Chest deflate. Oh no way. We'll see. But I do appreciate everyone tuning in. If you are tuning in to this live, please drop a like on the video, whether you're on Gunner Street or you're on KAPE's Pause Up. Please drop a like. Please subscribe if you haven't already to our channels. Hope you're enjoying the live. Get your comments in as well. We read it on screen. We'll converse as well whilst we're talking about this preview. But said you're the only club that looks like you're gonna run away with 2 trophies at least. Yeah. We look good right now, innit? Obviously, and I know you're not doing it in the sense of like trying to put the pressure on us. I know you're a realist fan, so I know you're just calling it how you see it. I agree as well. We look like we are primed to kind of go at least for the Premier League. Obviously, Champions League is a roll of the dice. You never know. And with the other trophies, it's about whether you can be consistent in them in terms of FA Cup and Carabao Cup. But yes, it's still very early dawns, but we're looking good for it. Obviously, I don't know. You want to transition to the lineups?
Yes, bro. Let me get the lineups. Pulled up. Well, let me go with really the lineup I thought. No way. Yo, hold on, bro. Take the joke. My laptop died, and I lost the lineup I had, bro. Absolutely lost the lineup I had. Just give me a second. Let me just fix up the lineup for you guys. Unless you want to go through it on screen. You want to go through it on screen? We talk through it.
It's up to you. You can fix it up.
You go with that?
Go for some comments. It's up to you. Loudmouth Football says Timber, Zubi, Calafiori, Magalhaes, stand-up players this season. I agree with that as well. I think we've had some quality performers, and obviously Timber, Calafiori have been up there for me, anyways. Obviously Zubamendi's been absolute class, and obviously Gabriel could argue is player of the season.
Yeah,
both Arsenal and the Premier League so far. So we've had some very, very good performers, obviously, and that's not to talk about the likes of Eze and Saka and Rice. So you just got to, and Raya as well. You just got to credit how many players are performing at that.
Yeah, credit the whole team.
But cool.
But if you're ready to go through, we could go through.
I just wanted to say, I just want to say one thing, yeah. So we know for sure that Saka is not playing. We know for sure Saliba's not playing. So yeah, I'm interested to see what you're coming up with.
Yeah.
Shout out King Jai. He says, leave it to man like Welbeck to break the open play goal streak. Hey man, with the way guys are scoring against their old team and that, like, we gotta make sure that this don't happen against us, because this is Mr. Wells.
It's true. Back. He's been on form. Well, but in goal, KP, I'll go through what I have, and then we could kind of talk from there. But in goal, I went with Kepa. I just think Carabao Cup, Raya's played almost every game. Kepa show why he's getting a wage at Arsenal. So I went Kepa and goalie. Any
Yeah, I agree.
disagreements there with goalie?
No, I agree with that. I
Right?
think Kepa, this is the game that he should be playing. So, and I got respect to keeping us. Obviously, keeping his head down, keeping his work up. So yeah.
At right back, I went with Ben White. Just because he needs the game time. Obviously, you're only gonna get fully match fit with the game time or with reps. Timber has been playing a lot of games, like Yudi just mentioned. I think Timber has been literally one of our best players up there with Gabriel and others in the team, like you mentioned. I think Timber has been absolute quality. And I think this is a big game for Ben White, if I'm being very, very honest. I think this is a game where he needs to not needs to show, but he's gonna need to pick up some rhythm, especially with Timber holding on a spot for these important games so far. And the trust is with Timber right now for Mikel Arteta. So it's up to Ben White now to win his spot back in his team. And I think he has to do it by showing improvement. What do you think about Ben White starting at right back?
Yeah, I think I would have gone Ben White as well. As you said, like Timber's played a lot of minutes this season. It's been excellent, but you want to try and rest players where you can. Ben White, we've been coming back from injury. I think he's been consistently in training for the last couple of weeks, making a match day squad. So give him this opportunity to start at home as well. Hopefully he can get a good performance, get some good minutes in his legs, and compete to potentially get some more minutes in the upcoming weeks as well. So yeah, Ben White for me will be starting this game. So far,
Ben White at right back. I went with Christian Mosquera. I'm going to do him as a pair, and Piero Nkapia. No, I think this is where you kind of see the risk. And I'll be honest, and I'll show my hand here. But I'm going to explain why I went with these two guys. Yes, rotation as well. Saliba's not playing. And I think Mosquera has stepped in, obviously, and been brilliant. We've also seen it. We talked about him being pound for pound one of the best signings so far this summer. Very, very good deal by Berta. Shrewd deal. Only 13 million pounds. And he's a young, promising talent. Physically, you did a profile video on him. How good physically he is. He's strong. He's quick. How he deals with certain things. But on the ball, he's really impressed me. How composed he's really been and assuring he's really been. And I think with Saliba out the team, we haven't really missed him too much. Not saying that Saliba's not a good player and that he's better than Saliba, but we haven't missed a beat when Saliba has had to step out the team for whatever reason. And Nkapia and Mosquera has been there. The thing is with Nkapia, it's not only his first start. It would be if he does start the game, but it's only only a few minutes for Arsenal. He hasn't really played much with this back line, and he's never played with Mosquera. And I think going up against a Brighton side, especially if Danny Welbeck plays, he's already on form. He's going to be looking to cause them trouble. A very experienced, old-fashioned forward who has very good technical ability. We saw he score free kick against Manchester United. Also took 2 well-taken goals against Newcastle in the game before. So he's on form in the Premier League. We don't know if his form will transfer over. How would you feel about the centre-back pairing, KP? Because this is where I think the biggest concern might be, especially when you make 2 changes to such a strong defense.
Yeah, obviously it's a centre-back pairing that hasn't played together. Both, obviously, Nkapia will be getting his full debut, or starting debut, and obviously Mosquera, being, I guess, the most experienced one here, obviously, in terms of being our team, is interesting. But I do understand as well, obviously, Gabriel's, as I said, and I said to you off cam as well, Gabriel's played our most minutes so far this season. And this is off the back of that hamstring injury last season. So, like, you have to protect these kind of things. You have to be wary. And if you have an opportunity to potentially, rest him, even though it's not ideal because Saliba is out, which is making me question if Mikel was going to do it. But it's like, I hope he kind of does give Gabriel the rest, just because if it's risky because it's a cup game, but obviously you want to kind of give opportunity to some of these players as well. So yeah, I'm fine with that as well. To be honest, I think Nkapia should start and start.
One thing I say is I think I was watching some Arsenal content earlier, and I did think, I can't remember what podcast I was watching, but they did make a good point about how Mikel Arteta now seems to trust this squad. And I think it was James that made the point. And I think he's becoming more comfortable with the squad. I guess all these players are now his players. So it wouldn't surprise me that Nkapia gets to start, even though it's going to be his first start, and he's only just come back from injury. It wouldn't surprise me, being that he trusts him. He trusts all the guys in the squad, clearly. He's shown that. Yudi says you're going to lose to Brighton if Nkapia and Mosquera play together. And it's a show. And I hear that that could be one of the reasons why, especially with the form Welbeck is in and some of the danger they've had. But I think you guys are going to see what I went with going forward about how to neutralize Brighton's threat going forward. At left back, I went with Miles Lewis Skelly. I think he was brilliant against Atletico Madrid the last time he started. And came off the bench against Palace, and he's going to be looking again to stamp his authority and stamp his place in the team with back-to-back performances. And same thing for Ben White. I think Lewis Skelly is showing now and should be looking to show well. I was a big player at the back end of last season at only 18 years old. Continue to put your name in the hat because, again, the season is long. Calafiori does have an injury record, and even though he's been one of our best players this season, he could be going at any moment in the game. We saw him against Palace go for the knock. And at any moment in time, we could be looking to have Lewis Skelly back at left back again. And again, I'm not worried by it. Gabriel even said it himself. When Lewis Skelly's in the team, I feel safe. And I feel safe when Lewis Skelly's in the team. So for me, I went Lewis Skelly at left back, KP. How are you feeling about this back line?
No problem, man. Like, I think the one change that Mikel probably will make is probably he will start Gabriel in this in this game. Because it's a cup game. But if this is the lineup that started and this is the lineup I will go with, I'll be very happy because I feel like it's refreshing. A lot of players that haven't played a lot of minutes. It'd be interesting to see how KAPE plays. And obviously alongside Mosquera as well. And obviously Ben White again back into the team. So yeah, this lineup is very exciting. And I think it should be strong enough to handle what Brighton give us with all due respect.
Yep. I have to agree. Now I'll start with the middle of the two who I start at the base and the pivot. I went with Christian Norgard to start. I thought Norgard, he's another player that just come back from injury. He's going to be also looking to cement himself and prove why he's here at Arsenal. He came in from Brentford, a very shrewd deal, very Premier League experienced player. Berta did a real shrewd deal on him. And then there's another game where he's going to be looking to start authority why he deserves minutes when in the bigger games when they do roll around. So I think this is an opportunity for rotation. And yeah, I go with Norgard in the midfield. What do you think about Norgard there?
Ladmar Football says in KAPE on left back, Magalhaes left centre back, Mosquera's right centre back. Yeah, I could see that happening as well. I could see Mikel maybe trying to split KAPE and get his minutes as left back, and I wouldn't mind that. I think KAPE will play more minutes as left back. But to your point, I think Norgard, as you said, has been patiently waiting for his minutes. He played obviously against who did he play a couple of weeks ago that we beat? Was it Preston?
He came off the bench against Palace. Then he might have came off the bench in like Champions League. Might have been a
yeah. Obviously, he's come on. He's come on, and obviously in a couple of games. Obviously, no, he started against Port Vale, and
he did start.
Like he hasn't played. He obviously played minutes here and there. When we shop in some games, but I think this would be a good opportunity for him to play. I think against Port Vale, albeit the opposition being lower league, I think he was good. He was clean, kept the ball moving, done his job in terms of reading the game. One thing I like about Mosquera is he keeps the ball moving, but a bit different to El Neni, who was a player I did like anyways, even though he was more of a sideways passer. That Norgard does like to play the ball forward, so I think and he plays it quickly. So he's not someone that takes too long on the ball, and if he sees a pass, he plays a pass. And I think I like those kind of things from the DM. Keeps it simple, keeps it moving, and being the fact that he's physical, can cover ground. I think obviously he'll come in and, in terms of the physicality that you want from the six, I don't think we lose that. And just the simple nature how he can read the game and play, I think it will come in. He's an experienced player. This is where he's kind of going to get the majority of his minutes. So I think obviously, like most of the other players that aren't featuring so much in the first team, he's going to have to take his opportunities given the fact that the guy he's competing against is one of our best performers this season, is Zubimendi. So
yes, absolutely.
That's what he's saying.
Absolutely. But I do have an interesting curveball to kind of throw at you with the lineup. Now I went with Zubimendi in the lineup as well, along with Norgard, and I went with Ethan Nwaneri next to him. Now I went with this double pivot because I think not only are you having this inexperience at centre back, but when I looked at Brighton's last couple of games and look at Brighton's fixtures, you could win the ball, especially the Man United game. You could win the ball off them in midfield. They're going to take risk after risk after risk. And Zubimendi and Norgard are going to look to win the ball back, and they're going to look to play the ball forward. And when you have someone like who's going to be looking to take his chances, we've seen last season in this competition that he can be clinical in and around the box with space. Scored some wonderful goals last season, and I would like to see Nwaneri kick on and play and score more goals in the 10 and continue to improve in the 10. But I think that's a midfield. I think the midfield, especially, I know this is an old cliche in midfields where games are won and lost. But genuinely with this Brighton team, when I watched them against Manchester United, every single goal was a Brighton mistake from playing out of the back, playing through the lines. And they take that risk and they're going to continue to play like that. Even at 3-0 down, they're still looking to play out from the back and take those risks. And the only reason they got back into that game is because Casemiro was taken off. Once Casemiro was taken off, they lost control of the midfield. They scored 2 goals, and then again they give away the ball cheaply, going for the tie. And Buemo scores a 4th. But I think you can definitely get at this match, this Brighton team. But you have to be high intensity. You have to win the ball back early. And I think that midfield gives you the opportunity to not only do that, but hurt them with a player like Ethan Nwaneri, who's going to be looking forward every single time. Tell me about that midfield 3, KP. I see you there smiling. I think this might have made you like this lineup. Tell me how you feel about this.
I'm thinking, because obviously I was like, you're playing Norgard, you're playing Zubimendi, you're playing Lewis Skelly. You know, Lewis Skelly and Burton tuck in. Norgard is a bit more of a deeper player. Obviously, Zubimendi is obviously a natural 6. You want him to get, you would want him to still get on the ball in the deeper areas, try and dictate, especially from build up. But at the same time, Zubimendi can play higher up. He can, you know, be involved in that press as well. You know, trying to win the ball up higher up the pitch, and him being using the high areas would be good. I was just thinking, obviously, this will be a game to kind of give him some rest as well, just given the fact that he has played a lot of minutes. Like there aren't many games that he's going to be able to rest. You definitely know that when he goes into the international break, he's going to play both games for Spain as well. Obviously, important games. Obviously, given the fact it's World Cup qualifiers, so it's that's the only thing in terms of just fitness and rotating is the reason why I wouldn't play him. But I do like the idea, because I feel like even if you do,
who would you go with instead? It's a tricky one here. Clearly, it is a tricky one. It is a tricky one.
I'll go with Marino.
Oh, so you're saying Marino in place of Zubimendi?
Yes, I'll put
Marino in place of Zubimendi. All right. We'll continue the lineup with Marino in place of Zubimendi. All right, we can do it like that for the sake of this lineup.
The reason why I'll go Marino, obviously, what you say is because obviously he hasn't started minutes. Obviously, this is another game that he would play. I do like the experienced nature of obviously Marino, Norgard, you know, players that have played in this league against, you know, teams like Brighton, you know, physical players as well. You know, if you want to describe their game, and then having those kind of players behind us, a bit more freedom, you know, enjoy his game. Obviously, yeah, Marino and Norgard are of that same level of Zubimendi. I feel like Brighton, given the fact that Arsenal, if they do make these type of rotations, may feel like they can go at Arsenal, because it isn't the same, you know, 11 can kind of go for the game and have at least spaces, you know, in the middle, and as you said, spaces to exploit. And given that they are a team that play out the back as well, I'm thinking who will be better in that, you know, physical press, Marino or Zubimendi, if you're just going based off what you said. And then I would like a Marino. And it's just more to give these players rest. It's not even like I'm not taking this competition seriously. I feel like this is still a great lineup. It's just more like, I don't think there'll be many games, especially in that run after the international break, that we can kind of rotate that first 11 at least for a couple of games. So if we can do it this game, I'll do it this game. That's my mentality.
I hear it though. It's an interesting one. But if you make this change in midfield, I'm very, very interested to see what you did in the front attacking line. Because let me show you what I did. To start off with, I went with big up Don C as always. I went with Trossard on the right, and I went with Ebericha Eze off the left. I went originally with Moreno up front, and obviously I had Zubimendi in the midfield. Is that what you would agree with? Would you make any changes to that front line so far? And also, I'm very, very interested to see how you would line up and who especially you will have at striker. Especially with Noah Martinelli in the team. So you're saying Gyökeres again?
Yeah, Gyökeres will start for me. I think you want to get him scoring goals. I think another home game, probably a bit more of an open game, facing his ex-team. Not just only Welbeck coming against his ex-team. Gyökeres used to play for Brighton. So there's a lot of, you know, can be a bit more incentive in his play there. And, you know, although just because with the argument I'm giving for Zubimendi, for some of the other players, Gabriel as well, that that could get some rest in this game. I think because of the lack of, with Martinelli being out, you still got Madueke, Jesus, Havertz out. There's only so much rotation we can do in the front three, and obviously, yeah, like if I was rotating him out and using another player in the midfield, then I would probably put Marino up there. But because I put Marino in midfield, Goka's got to start. I wouldn't play Trossard off the right. I don't like Trossard off the right, bro. Like, I hate it. Like, I actually hate it. Because obviously,
so how would you line up? You would put with Trossard off the left, Eze off the right, or Ethan off the right?
I'm playing Saka, bro.
Oh, play Saka.
Yeah, like
okay. Now you see the people. This is interesting. This is interesting.
Like again, I have. This is the one player that you want to obviously give minutes and rest, but obviously he hasn't played that many minutes this season. I was looking at the numbers. It's one of his lowest numbers in terms of minutes played this season. 1, 2, obviously he's had a couple of good performances, especially in the last couple of games, minus the Palace game, but he hasn't got a goal. And I want him to get as many goals as possible this season. We saw last season, even when Arsenal had, depth or wasn't injured, Saka was playing in these in these Carabao Cup games early on, even against the likes of Preston and Bolton and stuff. So it's not surprising that he may play in this game. And I feel like even though it is the same front three that we have been playing, it's more Eze hasn't been playing this 3 game a week constantly the way he has been for Arsenal in his previous season. So giving him the rest, Trossard, obviously, it's a risk. It's a risk to start him, but it's just more to keep a consistency in the front three, see if they can, continue to develop that chemistry, because they're going to be playing with each other, and then maybe you can bring them off, or a lot of them off, in the second half for some subs if we're able to put the game away. That's what I would go with, me personally.
The only argument I would make is the fact that we have so many injuries up front already in attack, and we really can't afford to be losing Gyökeres, especially this early in the season. The only argument I'd make is I'd kind of pull Gyökeres out of the team, seeing that he's been in the wars against these teams. Nothing against him getting goals or anything like that. I just really would like to see him get a rest out of the team, just so for me, because I cannot afford to have another attacker go down. And I think the only way you could kind of subsequent that is probably playing Moreno up front, because yes, I think we could take a Zubimendi. No, I can't even say it like that, because Zubimendi is so important to us. But when I say this, I say this with the fact that if Zubimendi does go down for a period of games, I think we do have a Norgard, we do have a Moreno, who might not be Zubimendi level, but if you put Rice at the 6, you kind of put a familiar guy there with Moreno. I think you could kind of work it out a little bit. You could kind of find a solution to that. But again, if you don't have Gyökeres or you don't have a forward back in the team for an extended period of time, I just think that hurts us massively. So I hear your shout for Gyökeres. I don't really, because I did have kind of like resent for Trossard starting, especially off. I think he's definitely more off the left, where he's able to come inside and drift into those little inside pockets of spaces a little bit better, and he doesn't really have the link-up partnership down that right-hand side. Hasn't played much minutes there in his Arsenal career. I would rather even see Trossard essentially, because even though there were times when we played 4-4-2 last season when he was up front with Havertz, and maybe play like a Moreno or Trossard type of thing. We saw that for moments last season. Maybe that comes into play. But I hear the shout for Gyökeres. I just am scared for him, man. I'm scared for him. But
no, I agree with you, bro. You make excellent points. He's played almost every. He started all but one game, I think, this season for us. Obviously, coming to a new league, fresh league, and obviously he's played a lot of 90 minutes, especially in the last couple of weeks. And as you said, that's the area in our squad that was suffering, and obviously, and the same kind of suffering that we had last season, kind of, a lot of numbers out, a lot of players out, we're seeing the same thing, which is why obviously it's dangerous to play, anyone really that's obviously been starting. So now I would ask you, because obviously, I'm assuming you would go with Zubimendi midfield, and as I see on the screen, you go Saka and Eze. Would there ever be a shout for Max?
Another show I made for. Yes, I was gonna say definitely, absolutely a shout for Max. I originally had him in my team before Trossard. I was originally thinking that you have to go with Max. I think he deserves the play time. He's been ripping it up at youth level. Scored 2 goals against Atletico. He's been scoring goals in the youth teams across the season. Scored some brilliant solo goals as well for the 21s. He was on the bench again. He when the Arsenal team walked on the other day, he was scored for the Palace game. He's definitely still in and around the squad. He's been since he was 14 years old, and he's already made his Premier League debut. So I don't see why, especially him playing against Newcastle and the likes of those Premier League teams in opposition in preseason already. I don't see why you wouldn't give him minutes. I don't think he would start though. For me, I don't think Max Doman physically will start because even though he's a top quality player, even when he came off the bench against Leeds for those few minutes, you could see physically he's still a boy. Physically, he doesn't really have that part of his game yet. And Brighton, even though yes, they play expansive football, they have Lewis Dunk. They have a very, very strong, physical, tall back line as well that is able to deal with those things. But my question for you is, I'm also open to this. I think it will kind of cause a little bit of an imbalance, me personally, but maybe going Eze midfield, Trossard off the left. What do you think about that, or what shot would you make for that?
I don't mind that either.
Eze midfield, Trossard off the left.
Yeah. Like I don't mind that.
Just because I think just because they're gonna play a bit more open, I think you can get at them a little bit. But sorry to cut you off, bro. Let me let you explain more on that.
No. I was going to say that it's just obviously Brighton. We don't always have to give them respect playing, two defensive-minded midfielders. I think we can go forward to play, two attacking-minded midfielders. But we're at home, we can take the game to them, try and be a bit more open, knowing that they play out the back, they do press up high, so there will be spaces for players as well. So playing an Eze and Ranieri in the 210s, but in front of like a Norgard will be interesting, obviously, and it gives a bit more attacking threat for us to take to Brighton and potentially exploit some of those mistakes they might make playing out the back and some of the spaces they might leave that, as them committing a lot of guys forward. So I do like the sign of that still.
Yeah, so we just showed, ladies and gentlemen, multiple different ways this lineup could go. I think this is one thing, the beauty about Arsenal, if I could just take on a bit of a side tangent. I think this is the beautiful thing about our squad this season, even with no Madueke, even with no Havertz, even with other guys. We genuinely have the squad if everybody's fit to make wholesale changes and still be very, very comfortable with the squad. I think the only concerns you have is maybe guys coming back from injury, guys not having certain enough minutes, and depends on if Brighton goes strong as well with their starting 11. How would this squad match up against their squad, just due to the fact that one, they haven't had a lot of time playing together like the Brighton side, because their side has been pretty consistent. And also on top of that, how are we physically able to keep up with the very intense game? Because Brighton, even though they might not be the most hard-working side pressing wise, I think they do press, and I think they're going to make the game hard for us, and they can turn us over if we're not ready and if we don't execute our game plan. So if we allow them space and we allow them time to turn, and I have players like Jorginho Ruter, and they have Welbeck, who's in good form. They have Yakuba Minta, who's been in great form as well for them, who's very, very fast, very, very quick. It's going to be a nice test for whoever's playing left back. I think it will be Mazu Skelly. So it's going to be an interesting one, man, KP. But yeah, man, overall, I think this slide definitely is good enough to go through the next round. What do you feel?
Yeah, I do agree, man. It's a good lineup. A very strong lineup and an attacking lineup. So it would definitely give me confidence if Mikel rotated like this, but obviously still kind of kept a lot of attacking quality on the pitch. So let's see how it goes. I'll be interested. The lineup selection is going to be very interesting. Imagine if you are bang on, though, that would be crazy.
Yes, bro. I don't always hope to be bang on. Sometimes I do hope the manager gives us a surprise and kind of makes it interesting. We kind of see some different things, and ultimately we get some shot. We learn new things about the team. I'm always interested to learn new things about the team. I know you are as well. I'm always interested to see how we develop and what new ideas this team and this manager comes up with. Fascinated by that kind of stuff. But before we get into predictions, I just want to read out some stats. Undefeated in the last 4 games against Brighton, but we have a mixed results against them since the Arteta reign. We have 5 wins, 4 losses, and 3 draws. They also knocked us out in the same competition in the 3rd round back in 2022. And also, there were 2 1-1 draws last season. Also, another stat, 3 players this season have scored against their former clubs. Can you name all 3 scorers for Arsenal this season who have scored against their former clubs?
Rice, Marino, and Eze.
As a quick rapid fire question. I'm interested to see how that affects you. Maybe we look based on the lineup. We have 2 former Brighton players in there, and they also have a former Arsenal player in their squad potentially for the game tomorrow. So very interested to see how you feel about that stat. The United, yeah, basically this last stat, Brighton have a mixed results this season. They've beaten Chelsea, they beaten City. They've also beaten Newcastle this season, but they have lost to the likes of Everton and Manchester United. However, those are the only 2 losses they've had in all competitions this season. And the last time we played them, we had that brazy red card, that Declan Rice red card he got for being literally being kicked by a Brighton player. Literally being
and that other silly Saliba penalty where the heading of João Pedro, and they said that they gave a penalty for that stuff that we'll never see again. So even though you said 1-1, obviously the last couple of results, two controversial games that you've seen there. So
very, very controversial games. Very, very
hopefully we don't. Hopefully, like this season so far, Arsenal can kind of handle their business within the 90 minutes without the aid or the need for any refereeing decisions, and we leave it out of their hands to influence the games for us. Obviously, and I like that we've been a bit more smart to not wasting time and get any of these cheap yellow cards that we seem to get all the time. So I'm good about that.
Yeah, man, and I think no going into this game, it's going to be more of a test to see how do we respond, because we've given this manager a lot of praise, and I think no is going to be a test of time to see how do you manage the squad, how can you manage the squad through difficult periods, through difficult fixture lists, especially with injuries piling up on top of it. And I think that's kind of what everybody's going through right now. Arne Slot is not finding out about it the hard way. And I think the thing that we're doing is we're getting results while still being able to manage and find our way through it. But KP, going into the predictions now, I gave you all these stats. Like I said, we haven't won this competition since early 90s. Brighton not just in the third round. We've had a few draws against them, some controversial calls, and we need a winner. I'm sure. I think we need a winner by the end of this game today. I think it goes straight into penalties. So by hook or by crook, we're gonna have to find out who goes through to the next round. So let me know your ultimate prediction. Who do you think goes through, and what is the score?
Obviously, I'm gonna back Arsenal to go through. Of course, I feel like we have enough quality to beat Brighton, and my predicted scoreline is 2-0.
2-0, comfortable.
I won't
with that. All right, go ahead. It's my fault.
I won't say necessarily. I'm not saying necessarily comfortable, but I would say Arsenal can handle their business, obviously, and have enough quality to kind of put the game away in regulation time. What was you gonna say?
Now I was gonna ask you: does that lineup that we just picked does that lineup win 2-0?
Yeah, it can. If the players that are playing there, Mascara, Ben White, Lewis Skelly, we've heard about Wahin KAPE, they all can defend. Kepa is a good keeper, and you have the likes of Norgard. That's all good quality defensive players. Not to mention if we play the team that you gave Marino and Saka, and even if you play Gokres up front, they're both still hardworking. So I think the way Brighton play, I think could feed into Arsenal's hand, because they're gonna back themselves to try and play football. They're not gonna necessarily just go long or result to a low block. Obviously, Arsenal could force them into a low block, but I think they're gonna still try and play out the back. They're still gonna do things that Arsenal can try and capitalize. So yeah, 2-0. What about you, bro? What's your prediction?
That's interesting, because I would be very intrigued to see if they do come at us, because if we do have players like Saka on the pitch who could take advantage of his one-on-one duels, if Saka is ever left for one-on-one, especially in a game like this, I think at full fitness and him ready and raring to go, we've already seen against Fulham how dangerous Saka is as a 1v1 player nowadays, and how his game has risen to the next level. Prediction-wise, I'll go. If he does make those wholesale changes, I just wonder about chance creation and how we do get built into the game. What kind of gives me a little bit of confidence is that the game is at home, so hopefully the crowd gets behind the players. I'll go 2. I don't want to go 2-0 just because you already went 2-0, so I'll go 1-0 Arsenal. I'll go 1-0 Arsenal. I think it's gonna be one of those games where it's tight for a while. chance creation is hard. It's gonna be like the Palace game again. I think it's just gonna be decided by a moment. I think the moment is maybe decided by maybe one of the attackers. Maybe it's decided by a set piece again. Yeah, I'll go 1-0. I think it's gonna be one of those types of games. I think both teams are gonna try to get it, but ultimately we're just gonna have that bit of quality to edge the game overall. 1-0 to the Arsenal, 2-0 to the Arsenal. Is your prediction, my bro?
Yeah, I think that I can hear that still. Brighton aren't an easy team to play against. I just think because they'll be the one team that I'll constantly try and play at the back, I think it'll feed it to our hands.
I think this game could easily be. I think this game could definitely easily be 2 or 3-0, especially seeing that watching their United result. If they're persistent and playing out of the back and having those principles, even if they're giving the ball away 2-3-0 down, I think if Arsenal are able to turn them over and create open chances and really are clinical in their chance taking, I think this game could definitely be 2 or 3 or hopefully maybe even more. But yeah, man, I just think us not having that rhythm, especially if he does make wholesale changes in key areas, I think it's going to be a bit of a, especially in the attacking side of it, I think it might be a bit hard to really grow into the game at first. It being a midweek game coming off the back of a result on Sunday for wholesale changes, I think it might be a slog to get started, but ultimately I do think we're going to have the quality to win the game. But KP, any final thoughts or anything you'd like to say before we get out of here, before we move on to anything else?
No, I just hope that we just win the game, go through to the quarterfinals of this round or this cup. What about you?
Yeah, bro, absolutely, man. Just looking forward to, like you said, going forward to the next round of this cup. We said we both want to win it. It gives us a lot of hope going forward for a long, hopefully successful season. But yeah, man, just want to win. Ultimately, you want to win every single game, keep the momentum going.
There you go, man. Everyone, appreciate you tuning into the live. Just drop a like on whether it's Gunner Street or Capers Pausa. Drop a comment down below.
Drop a like.
Hype the video as well. We appreciate all the love for everyone tuning in. And yeah, hopefully Arsenal do the business. I was gonna say, we should be doing a watch along for the game tomorrow. So if you are in, please tune in. Please engage and watch the game with us. Put your comments in as well. Will be interesting, funny, and great footballing. Atmosphere that will create between me and Steph. So do tune in to when that
you already know.
Obviously, will be vibing as Arsenal play Brighton.
Hopefully picking up a massive result. People, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to both channels. Like KP said, hype the video, show some love and support. We'll be here again for the live stream, and we're going to be here probably more consistently for you guys. We're going to try to create a pattern and try to get more consistent with the live streams. So look out for us. Hit the like button, subscribe, guys. All those things help our channels out massively. And if you like anything we do here, share the video. Share around with anyone that you know is going to like this kind of content or going to like any of our football opinions. We have all types of videos on our channels, player analysis, player breakdowns, analytical videos, reaction videos, anything football related, guys. We have it on our channel. So show some love. We're going to be consistent. We're going to keep posting for you guys. So all the support is definitely appreciated.
That's just it, man. Guys, everyone just keep sharing, keep showing the love, and keep tuning in and engage. If you're in the chat, put your comments in, whatever you want to say. Obviously, as long as it's valid, we'll show it on screen, read it out. Any questions, we'll debate it between ourselves and you guys. So let's build this community up. Let's build this little family and this little football discourse that we've got going between ourselves. Yeah.
Yes, people. Give your predictions in the comment section down below.
Everyone drop their predictions. I said we'll catch them, everyone, hopefully in the lab tomorrow. But yeah, drop your predictions for the game. Obviously, Steph's gone 1-0. I've gone 2-0. So let's see who is white.
Hopefully it's 9-0 to Arsenal. You always love to see the biggest score.
Bro, I would not be complaining, man, if Arsenal do that still. I can't lie to you.
People. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe like we said. We're going to keep rambling on forever, but thank you for your love and support. Catch you guys in the next one, people. Peace.
Peace.
See you live tomorrow.